Hello and welcome to Acting Book Review. Okay, quick disclaimer, if you are a person who enjoys reading acting books, you've probably already heard of these. It's nothing groundbreaking, some of them are like really popular. So yes, but if you don't know anything about acting books but you're thinking about reading some, I have some lovely suggestions for you, starting with The Stanislavski System by Sonia Moore. If you go to my acting school, then you have already had to read this. This is the book that they give us when we transfer from acting foundations to acting technique. This is probably the most condensed and comprehensive guide to the Stanislavski system. If you know nothing about the technical side of acting, this is a great book to start with. Not only is it not super lengthy, but it's also a pretty entertaining read, pretty easy to understand. Yeah, my camera decided to just not record this part, but you can find the Stanislavski System for $12.99 new and $5 used. Next up is Acting, the first 6 lessons. Now, did I enjoy the 6 lessons? Yes, but the reason why I'm still so into it is because this thing has just a lot of really great exercises. Some of them are solo exercises, some of them are partner exercises, but what I love about it is that a lot of the ones that are partner exercises you can actually kind of reformat into a solo exercise. The 6 lessons are great lessons, but I really like this thing for just the never-ending exercise opportunities that kind of live in the back here. A new version of Acting the First 6 Lessons cost about $7, but you can also find used versions for around $3. Improvisation starters. I am not taking an improv class currently, and this thing's kind of got me covered. Now, I'm not saying that this is a replacement for an improv class or anything like that, but I have learned so much about improvisation, not necessarily just by reading this book, but more by doing all of the improv exercises, because kind of like Acting the First 6 Lessons, there's solo exercises, there's exercises for 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, but most of them can be reformatted into a one-person acting exercise for when you are, like me, alone all the time. But if you have friends and you've always wanted to do little improv skits together and record them or whatever, this has some great starters, just throughout. A new copy of this book costs around $14, but I found used ones as low as $4. My video just keeps stopping. $4, as low as $4. Auditioning and acting for the camera. I'm not gonna lie to you, I haven't finished this thing yet. She's thonk, and she's thonk. It does have some really great tips for things that are specifically camera related. I mean, clearly it touches on things, from what I've read so far, like self-tapes, how to hold yourself during an audition, just some professionalism that goes along with being in the industry. Now, the real reason that I am recommending this to you is because this thing definitely gets the award for the most creative exercises. I bookmarked one to read to you. Watch your favorite soap opera. If you don't have one, randomly choose a soap opera to watch. As you're watching it, vocalize what you think the character's subtext is. It would be fun to do this with someone else, to have each of you in a 2-person scene verbalize a character's subtext. Pretend you are an interpreter, and you have to interpret what the characters really mean. It's really fun to mess around with this book. A brand spanking new one of these is about $17.95, and the Kindle version, I have not found any used versions online, but the Kindle version is $10. Next up, my personal favorite, we have The Actor's Art and Craft. This book actually was one of the only books in this lineup. The only other one is Acting and Auditioning for the Camera that was not recommended to me. I just happened to stumble upon it. It actually got recommended to me later after I had already read it. If you have never taken an acting class, I would definitely read this book. I would say if you've never taken an acting class, you don't know anything about acting, and you just want to get into it, start with these 2. But if you are curious what it is like to be in an acting class, maybe you can't afford it, maybe you don't have time right now, maybe you're just interested and you want to see what the vibe is before you like fully commit, because it's definitely an investment. This book is written from the point of view of, it's like you're in the class, and one of the biggest like reasons why actors go to classes is because you want to be around other people, you want to be watching other people, learning from other people, and this book kind of gives you that same kind of experience, just not being in the studio. Yes, it's probably, it's you know, it's totally different to be in the studio, but this book does a really good job of just giving you the general vibe of what happens during an acting class, and it teaches you just like an acting class does, it kind of teaches you through others. Last but not least, we have Strasberg's Method as taught by Lori Hall. I had the absolute honor of reading this in Rachel Baylett's book club. Just to kind of give you some perspective of how much this book is. Price-wise, thonk-wise, just general being, like knowledge-wise. A hardcover copy of this book, at least the hardcover copy that is the most accessible online, the one that like pops up when you search the book, is $902.81. Yeah, $902.81. This softcover version was around $30 on Amazon. I personally haven't been able to find it used anywhere, but I'm sure it exists. This is just the most detailed book on Strasberg ever. If you're a beginner, I honestly wouldn't recommend reading this book. It's a wonderful book, and I would absolutely recommend reading it at some point. But if you're a beginner, and just, yeah, that's it. If you're a beginner, I would not recommend this book. It's a bit too complicated, but if you have maybe heard of some of these other books, or you're working your way down the line here, I would absolutely recommend reading this book once you have kind of gotten yourself a little bit of a foundation of knowledge of the acting world. Well, if you've made it this far, I'm impressed. But thanks for tuning into my acting book recommendation. I hope this helps you if either you maybe can't afford to take an acting class right now, or for whatever reason you can't be at your acting class right now, or you've never taken an acting class, but you're interested in taking an acting class or just learning how to act. I don't personally feel like just reading books or like doing exercises or whatever necessarily replaces an acting class. I think that it is incredibly important to get feedback on your work as well as learn from other people's work, but at the same time, this is a great way to supplement work that you might be doing in a class, or if you can't take a class, it's a great way to just kind of keep up on your acting knowledge while not having to do all of the commitments that come along with taking a class, because it's a huge time commitment, a huge financial commitment, just it's all around a lot. So I hope this helped.